So here you are, and you're living in Goshen. You've been there for a few generations. You're slaves. It's miserable. I mean, we think we have it miserable. This is the cushy slavery. This is like the country club jail, you know? And so they had it real miserable. And all of a sudden, this former prince of Egypt shows up. And he's like, God, the great creator, Yahweh told me we're leaving. You're part of the establishment. You're part of the problem, you. Because, I mean, think about it. I mean, they knew who he was. You. I mean, we're actually going to go. Pharaoh's going to let us go. Think of the leap of faith that they needed to have to leave. I mean, you can match it in some small way to when you left the church you went to. And the tough decision that was. I know for a lot of you that wasn't easy. And by the way, you feared, and probably were right most of the time, on the reaction you would get. And so Israel was the same way. They feared the reaction they would get, and they got the reaction. I mean, Pharaoh did come after them. Just like church members you went with came after you. And pastors came after you. Anybody? No? So here they are. They're about to leave, and they don't know where they're going. They don't know what to expect. So where do they end up going? To wonderful, exciting, the wilderness. Now, it really wasn't that far to go to the land. They could have been there in just a number of weeks. So it's not because they got lost in the desert. It took them 40 years to find and get directions. I know the lady's thinking, well, it was led by a guy. If he would only have asked directions, they'd have got there faster. No, they found it, but they didn't want to spy it out properly and then go into it, so he made them wander around until they killed off that generation. But the thing is, they went from slavery instead of into this abundant freedom. See, that's the thing. That's sort of the lie that Christianity tries to give on you, is like, come into this thing and boom, everything's going to be just like golden, gilded roses and abundance coming out of your eyeballs and your ears. And I mean, just flowing and grace and wonderful this, and right? I want to go through what I ask people to do when they mikvah, because I think this is very important and apropos of what the people were doing coming out of Egypt. And as we approach the mindset of going out of this version of Egypt, one of the things that we have to understand that beginning as they come out of Exodus is Abba starts teaching them the difference between what we call unclean and clean. Tameh and tahur. Tameh is unclean, tahur is clean. I mean, that's really the primary discussion all through the book of Leviticus. A lot of Numbers. You see that this understanding of what it means to be in one of those two states. And by the way, you are in one of those states all the time. There's no third state. You're either clean or you're not. The purpose of the mikvah is a change in status. That is why they go through the water. It's a symbolic watery grave, but it's really a washing, a cleansing. So you have lots of different symbols there. I mean, like, you know, if you do something and you get physically dirty, what do? You go and you wash up. So this idea of cleansing and washing and becoming clean is linked always to water. And so here, there's going to be this change of status from Tameh to Tahor. So here they are, they're coming out of Egypt. Here you are, kind of coming out of Egypt to the same degree, and you're trying to bury the old man, you're trying to go through this process, and now you have to renounce all of that other stuff, and the hardest one is self-sovereignty. Especially for those coming out of slavery. And by the way, a lot of you have that same kind of experience because you were under an oppressive ministry or under some sort of controlling authority, right? Where you were abused, controlled, neglected, whatever. I mean, every possible thing you want to say that could go wrong was done. Yes? No? All right. And so, is there a trust then built in for authority? No. We are not trusting of authority. That's okay. A certain amount of skepticism should be there. But we should be desiring authority and asking for guidance to find good authority. So here they are, and we're getting to this point, and then what are they doing? You have to make a citizenship choice. Am I going to be under, in other words, an authority choice? Am I going to be under my own authority, any other authority, or am I going to choose to actually come under authority? And that's a hard choice to make. Remember, we started out with these people didn't know Moses and what they thought they knew about him, because let's face it, the Prince of Egypt wasn't interacting with them every day. Right? You're not going to see the elite of Egypt hanging out in Goshen. Okay? Hey, Pharaoh, I think I'm just going to go hang out in Goshen for a minute. I'm going to get a burger. I mean, that wasn't happening. You know what I'm saying? But they knew who he was. They knew he came from them. They were aware. But here they had to now decide, can I trust this guy? Or is it some sort of a little trick to just go out and get us killed in the desert like some claimed? You're looking for the person who is speaking the word of Yahweh with inspiration and authority. And when you sit there listening to it, you go, wow, I never understood that before. Now it's clear as a bell. Wow, that really does piece together. Wow, if you're saying that, not because I want you to say wow about me, it's wow about him. I just get out of the way. And so we have to accept then our role as citizens in the kingdom. And then we have to make a commitment to take on the responsibilities. I mentioned that already, of being a citizen. It's a commitment. And then lastly, we have to understand that as we walk forward as citizens, our primary role is to make sure that we are bringing glory and honor and not shame to the name and authority above all names. So the first question I ask people is it your desire? In other words, nobody's twisting your arm. Is it your desire to change your status from Tameh to Tahor? Because after all, if it's not, why are you doing this? Well, because it says in the Bible I got to get baptized. Well, who cares what it says? I got to get baptized. Do you want to get baptized? Do you understand what it's about? It's not just, well, it says it. It says it because it's part of a covenanting type of thing. It's a status change. Are you ready and actually committing to make that change? They're watching you, and you claim to be something. You claim, I don't do that anymore, and I don't go there anymore, and I don't celebrate that anymore, and I don't eat that anymore. So now they're watching you to see what that looks like. What does that look like as you're making jokes you shouldn't be making? Or, talking about stuff you shouldn't be talking about? Or doing things you shouldn't be doing? Or whatever it is. Because they don't know. They don't know Torah. They just know what you said. Well, I'm this Messianic, Torah observant Israelite, whatever thing. And then they watch you and see what you do. Well, I don't know. I've never seen one of those before. I wonder what it does. Let me watch. We are watching the very rare Messianic Torah observant Israelite in its natural habitat. Very interesting. It just went over. Never mind. But they're watching you. And so you can see, hopefully, the parallels between then and now and what we're dealing with. But you know what? I still see, and again, this is not to be, judgmental or anything else. I still think most people are playing with this a little too much. A king is coming. No, sorry. The king is coming. No voting. You got to love, well, we need a board and we need to all vote. There's no voting. When did Moses take up a vote? Oh, no, they wanted a vote. There's no voting. There's trusting. And seeing and observing, is that person committing his life to serve the body? Not perfectly, but the best they can. And did the Father lead you to a place where you know you're supposed to be here?